Alright, welcome back, and we're going to be doing a few more rounds of Masked Carnival now to show you guys just how to clear everything with no problems. Um, a lot of Masked Carnival rounds are going to be gimmicks or straight up fights, and it might be a little hard to distinguish one from the other. The first thing we're going to do, though, Ethereal Mimicry. It's just free DPS. It's great. It's fantastic. Guarantee you should have it. If you don't, things will go slower, but they're still very much doable. So, we're going to start off with just the first round. It's just your basic fight. Now, I'm going to be going into this with a bunch of spells. I have all the Blue Mage spells. Uh, I will be showing you on the ones that are gimmicks some easy, kind of cheap ways to deal with everything. But for this, we're just going to focus on just killing everything. Now, you can pull these enemies one at a time if you really feel like you need to. There, I'm just using Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom's an overworld spell, so it's super easy to get. It casts quick, deals decent damage. There, I got poison on me, but I can get rid of that real quick with Exuviation. Now for this big guy, I'm going to set up quite a good number of attacks. Here I'm using the Primal attack from Suzaku, and that kills him. So, not a lot to it. It's a straightforward fight. If you have attack spells, just go for it. I'm going to try and group these videos into sets of 5. This one might be kind of short because the 5 rounds are going to be kind of short. Okay, so here's Act 2. Act 2 is supposed to teach you about elemental weaknesses. The idea is you want to go in with a wind, fire, lightning, earth, ice, and water spell. Now, I'm going to show you guys all a little trick. So, the first 3 are weak to wind, ice, and earth. Great. I happen to have all 3 of those. The secondary 3, we're not going to care about because there's a trick. So let's start with the wind. We'll pull these again one at a time. Now, the thing to know about puddings, flans, any of these slime monsters like this, is that they don't take a lot of damage from physical attacks. So now this one's going to be ice, so I'm going to bait it to get it close to me, and then I'm going to start using Ram's Voice, which deals just a circle around me of ice damage. And it also applies Deep Freeze. Deep Freeze is a fantastic debuff. It basically just locks your opponent down, they can't do anything. Now for Earth, we have one of the best spells. It's Serpanaka. It is Ravana's primal spell. It deals big damage. So then we go into Act 2. Act 2, you're supposed to be using water, fire, and lightning. I have those. I don't think I've got fire set on my hotbar. But I'm going to show you real quick why it's not going to matter. So we're just going to go ahead and aggro all 3 of these guys. Come on, get them all together here. There we go. And remember, I told you Deep Freeze just shuts them all down. Well, then there's this wonderful spell called Ultra Vibration. Anything afflicted with Deep Freeze dies. There are a few instances where things don't, but they just die. So that just gets you straight through the end of that round. You will be seeing Deep Freeze, Ram's Voice for Deep Freeze with Ultra Vibration very often in these videos. Ultra Vibration has a long cooldown, so anything with multiple acts, you'll be seeing us use it in the 2nd or 3rd acts, depending on where it shows up. But most of the time it doesn't matter. When you go into a new round of Masked Carnival, it resets it. So the next one's going to be Waiting for Golem. This is again a straightforward fight. He has a water weakness. You can go in with that. I'm not really going to place a water spell. There's a few on there. The basic spell you start with is a water spell. But, interesting thing to check, just go in, use Ram's Voice. He fully resists Deep Freeze. So now we're just going to focus on just dealing damage. A good combo I like to use is Off Guard, Song of Torment, drop Feather Rain, which is the primal skill from Garuda. And then you can just drop as many primal spells as you want. And that's a good way to deal a lot of damage right out the gate. And you can see here, Serpanaka does nothing to this guy. We'll use Condensed Leaper to give him a weakness. And then I'm going to just hit him with some big magic attacks. So here he's dropping a puddle on the ground. It's easy enough to dodge, so it's not that big a deal. You can technically use Flying Sardine to get out of it to where he won't place it. But you shouldn't really need it. Now, the spell that I'm using a whole bunch here is Abyssal Transfixion. There's a bunch of generic potency 220 skills. That was Obliterate. You do want to use Flying Sardine to cancel that. But yes, there's a bunch of spells that have potency of 220. Abyssal Transfixion is non-elemental, meaning that in most cases here, it'll work against everything. And it also inflicts paralysis. It's just good. Alright, so we've just been beating him down. Got time for another Off Guard, Song of Torment. There's Obliterate again, we'll get rid of that. Place another Feather Rain, drop Magic Hammer because our NP's not at 100%. Again, you can do this with as many or as few spells as you want. You can see this is more or less just a boss fight. His moves are very telegraphed. They're very easy to dodge. Just focus on getting in the damage. If you see yourself taking a lot of damage, you can use White Wind to heal. Make sure that you use Flying Sardine whenever he tries to use Obliterate. And we'll get this some kicks to end it. Alright, and that's round 3. So, round 4 has some oddities to it. In the first act, you're just going to fight some basic enemies. In the second act, you're going to fight a kind of Dullahan type monster. Basically, he's just the suit of armor that attacks you. He will use an ability that if he uses it, it'll make him stronger with higher defense. And if he uses it, I believe 3 times, you get an achievement. If he uses it 4 times, you can't kill him. He has a weakness to lightning, so that's good to know. Let's go ahead and roll on into it. So, for these first 3, I don't really feel like putting up with them. I'm just going to freeze them. And Ultra Vibration. Moving on to the boss fight. Now, there is a 2-minute cooldown on Ultra Vibration. As long as you don't attack the first enemy, or the enemy that spawns in, you can just stand here forever and nothing will happen. You have 30 minutes, and I mean, it took us, 30 seconds to clear the first act, so I think you could spare 2 minutes of those 30 minutes if you wanted to wait for Ultra Vibration to come back. But we're just going to fight this guy normal. this. We get in some Serpanakas. So he's going to use Grand Strike, and then he'll follow it up with more Grand Strikes faster. There's a second, and then there'll be a third. So here you put a whole bunch of enemies. Now you see, you can deep freeze him. So if you want to fight the first round, or even if you want to just wait, you could probably Ultra Vibration him as well. Some enemies are immune. I don't know if he's immune or not. This honestly is not too terribly hard of a boss fight. Here he's doing Grand Strikes again. So there's a second. We'll bait out the third. And then we'll hit him with some big spells. So now, you may not have seen it, but he started to use a spell called Magitech Field. I've been hitting him with Abyssal Transfixion, which applies paralysis, and paralysis can stun enemies out of their stunnable attacks. So he just never used it because he had paralysis on him. Alright, so then we have the 3 Penny Turtles. This is your first true gimmick one, and I have a spell on my hotbar specifically for this. So these enemies all have about 900 HP, and they all have extremely high defense, but they do next to nothing to you. So I'm going to use the spell 1000 Needles. It has a really long cast time, but it deals exactly 1000 damage. I guess they have more than 900. They must have about 2000. But still, 6 casts of this, that's nothing. You're fine. 1000 Needles number 1. Here comes 1000 Needles number 2. They do nothing to you. This is literally just a race against the clock. Now, to show you, 9 damage. 13 damage. You're not going to get through this fight if you try and fight them with normal spells. It's not going to happen. 1000 Needles deals 1000 damage. It's just that easy. Alright, so that's going to end my video for Carnival rounds 1 through 5. And then we'll come back in another video and do 6 through 10.